The all-new Endurant automated transmission and other Eaton Cummins AMTs were designed for superior reliability, performance, and efficiency. This driver video will get you started on the road in your Peterbilt or Kenworth truck.
Hi, I'm Zach.
Hi, I'm David.
Today we're going to be talking to you about traction control on the Endurant transmission and other Eaton Cummins automated transmissions. David, how does traction control work?
So, Zach, traction control works by applying brake pressure to any of the wheels that are spinning to allow the wheel that is not spinning to once again gain traction. Anytime you approach, say, a snowdrift or ice or a low traction situation, you may see a TC come up in the gear display indicating that traction control is working. When the transmission sees a wheel slip, the transmission will prevent a shift from occurring, and when the engine sees a wheel slip, it will lose power and allow the wheels to gain traction again. It's a way to keep the vehicle under control in an unsafe situation.
So it may be normal if I'm the driver to experience a no-shift condition when a traction event is occurring.
Sure. When a traction control event occurs, you might see the engine lose power and the transmission may downshift to compensate for that slower speed. When you're going through snow or a low traction situation, you might see the TC come on. Now, if you're trying to power through those situations where, say, you're trying to power through a soft soil or you're trying to power through a snowdrift, there is a way you can actually open up the tolerances for when a traction control event occurs. So in order to do that, you would press the TC button on your dash. You will notice that your traction control light begins to flash on the display, and now the tolerances for the transmission and the engine are widened before we will start to apply pressure on those braking situations. The other thing that's going to be helpful in these situations is placing the transmission into manual mode. When you place the transmission into manual mode, you'll see a small M come up in the gear display, and you will now be able to manually request upshifts and downshifts by either pulling back on the lever for an upshift or pushing forward on the lever for a downshift.
David, what do I do if the truck gets stuck?
If the truck gets stuck, you can actually use the traction control to work yourself out of that situation. To do that, you're going to put the transmission into low. You'll press forward on the shifter until you see a small L come up in the gear display. Once the L comes up, the transmission is going to go into first gear, and you will then just use the throttle to work yourself out of that situation. The traction control will come on, and you may see the TC icon come up in the display, but that's simply to prevent any additional wheel slip.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
That was pretty good.
That one was a good one.
Yeah.
Cut.